Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to show you something from ZeroTech Optics that I think some of my subscribers maybe haven't seen yet. So this is the Trace Advanced RMG. It's a 4.5 to 27 power optic. It's sitting right now on that Savage 308 and I'm pretty excited about it. I really like this optic. I like high magnification optics in general, but this one is very cool. Obviously the turrets are a big deal to me. I talk about it in a lot of reviews and I'm going to start there today. So in zeroing the optic, I went ahead and did a 5-shot group to get her all zeroed up at 100 yards. And then to set the zero stop here and slip the scales, all I had to do is remove that with those provided Allens. Then underneath that cap, which has good texturing, is your zero stop brass plate. And so that's your brass plate. It tells you to read your owner's manual, and you definitely should if you're not familiar with zero stops. This one is pretty simple. That plate right there is actually, it has a screw on it, and those two slotted screws run into each other. And I'll show you a little better angle here. So when you actually set those, you can go ahead and tighten it down when you've adjusted it properly. And those two run into each other, and it stops it from traveling any further in the wrong direction. So you can go ahead and put your cap back on. Like I said, on the very top of the turret, it has some knurling there, some good knurling. And these are lift to operate turrets. And so just take a listen to these turrets a little bit. That zero stop sounds pretty good. Lift to operate, like I said, and even in the cold, functioning well. A little bit on the windage there, just so you can know. Sometimes they sound differently, and this one sounds the same as the elevation turret, which is a good sign for me. It lines up right on zero. I've actually had a number of scopes that did not line up on zero. It's really frustrating, and at this price point, I'm very glad to see that it does line up exactly on zero. So no confusion, no issues with that at all. Going to the reticle focus here, lots of range of adjustment. I always dial mine right to the right, but this one, even in the cold, runs pretty smoothly, and it's a nice texture on that. ZeroTech always has really nice eyepieces, I find. Parallax is a little firm, and it goes from 25 yards, or 25 meters perhaps, up to infinity. There's a few identifiers on there, but usually I just eyeball it, and I'm glad that it does have that knurling right on the outside of the knob there. It's easier to grab onto and put some force into it, especially when it's really cold out. The magnification range there is 4.5 to 27, like I said earlier, and it's pretty easy to grab onto that knob, which is built into the scope. But I have seen that they have provided some additional levers. I have an MK Machining bubble level on there. Go check out MK Machining if you haven't. And the flip covers. So the scope covers are actually amazing. They're really cool on this objective bell here. And they snap right into place. They're like an alloy of some sort, but they snap in really well. Cold, hot temperatures, all that kind of stuff. It does really great and retain well. I found that the objective lets in plenty of light. It may not be quite as big as others, but being a little bit longer scope, you can do some math creatively to make sure that you get all the light color balance correct. And I find that with this scope, it's a little longer, and it does get plenty of light into that bell, even when it's dark in the morning or later at night. So your user manual, this is something you don't want to skip over, guys. In the user manual, especially if you're not familiar with how to set that zero stop, that's going to tell you a little bit of the information right there, so you can actually see it done, or you could watch my video again if you'd like. And another thing they throw in there, which I actually really appreciate, I think it's a great idea, it's a little bit of a reticle guide, or at least something you can reference and look at. And on the bottom side, about half of this paper, it gives you a place to write in the cartridge that you're going to zero with, velocity, all the important information, and then you can go ahead and write down your data for different distances, and that would be something to hold on to, especially for a newer shooter. I think it's very useful. Also included in your box when you buy a ZeroTech product, there's going to be some tools and some other things in there, and this one right here is really useful. It's an Allen key as well as some extra set screws for your turret, so don't lose that. Those are really good for replacement in case you lose some. And then this tool right here helps you set up your scope cap covers, and this is going to help you adjust it to get it to the right place because those are thread in. and then you have a lens cleaning cloth, which a lot of companies throw in, but ZeroTech always does really high quality stuff. And so this one, it is a really high quality lens cleaning cloth. I actually would use this. I looked it over pretty good, and it's just nicer than other ones that you would find in any other box for some reason. So actually, one of the first things I'll do when I get a new optic is not to run out to long range or even zero to 100 yards. One of the first things I'll do is test out close range, parallax, those kind of features, and I'll test it on an air rifle like what I have here. So this is a Benjamin 397S, and this mounts really nicely on there. Have to use high rings to make this work with the bolt throw on here, but this is one of the first things most of the time if I get an optic that night, even if it's too dark to shoot out, I have an indoor location where I can shoot a little bit anyways, up to a little past 50 yards, and I'll do close range stuff there. And so this has a minimum of around 25 yards or meters, somewhere in there, for the parallax feature, and it's perfect for my little inside range, and I can test out all the features there, the glass clarity, the reticle at different magnifications, and then get some practice with it before I actually take it out to zero at 100 yards and then long range. And so first I sit down and I do a whole lot of pellets with this thing. For a bipod on this, I did have to install a Picatinny piece in the bottom, and I go with the UTG overbore, and ironically I have it underneath. I use it as an underpiece, so it works pretty well with pellet rifles, and it's got enough cant in there and a little bit of pan and quite a bit of height, and so I can get really comfortable from a bench with a pellet rifle. So as the sun started going down and started getting darker out, I wanted to put the glass itself to the test along with that reticle, and also to try out those turrets. I have a little mini PRS course available at my local range at a closer distance, and it was time to give those turrets a better try.
Alright, so behind me is a little PRS practice stage. This is on our close range. It's at 219 yards, right about. It's a meter's range, so I suppose 200 meters. For those of you who don't use yards, and it's a really great reticle, guys, for practicing PRS, or actually using in PRS, especially if you have a high BC bullet and a good caliber behind it. Obviously, I can still take this rifle to 1,000 yards using 308 and some, relatively decent ammo. But if you're using a better ballistic coefficient, this reticle is going to be excellent. If you're a holdovers person, it's got 10 mils of holdover, so it's, usually sufficient for most rifles. And even with 308, a little bit of dialing, a little bit of holdover, and I had plenty enough to get out there. But here at just past 200 yards, 219 yards, this is a really great reticle to practice on steel and get me more comfortable with building positions. So I'm just going to do a little bit of that. 8 shots. I'll run through this course quick. bad rim in there, so that cost me when I dropped a shot there. But overall, reticle easily would clear that course. If it wasn't Sub-Zero right now, I think I could do it a little faster, especially if I didn't have this big hood on. But the reticle, the optic, the glass, it's actually sundown right now too, collecting plenty of light. I'm really happy with it. But it's just really intense to shoot up on this hill right now at 1,000 yards. Now, if it was at 300 yards, I'd be down a little lower. I'd probably be shooting off the ground. It wouldn't feel quite so bad. But up here, it does. It does feel pretty intense today. I could swear I've shot in colder temperatures, like much colder. And in those days, you know, you take away the wind, and it's not so bad. When you add some wind, it's amazing how it just penetrates everything. But all excuses out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and hit steel at 1,000 yards using the ZeroTech today. And actually, just to make it more difficult, if it wasn't difficult enough already, I'm going to do it on my 308. And I'm going to use 168 grainers, boat tail hull point, gold medal match. And so we'll see how that goes. It might take me a few shots to get on steel, honestly, just between those wind gusts, changing directions. I've got 3 different directions represented right now downrange. So it'll be interesting, but here we go, guys. The scope will help me get there. I know that. All right, so the wireless mic died, but I'm able to use a couple different things here. The onboard speakers on my Pocket Osmo or Osmo Pocket, and I'm hoping that you can hear me okay. I hope you can hear the target okay. And I think passively with my long shot target camera systems, I think you can see the target in the background. So if anything, if you can't hear the sound, you should be able to see the target move here. I'm recording on the app at 1,000 yards. So here we go. The scope can do it, guys. I just want to show you. Oh gosh, I hope you can hear that. I can hear it. I've got amplified hearing with my hearing protection built in. I hope you could hear it. If you could not, you could probably see the target move in the background of the long shot target camera. So, wow, is it difficult to shoot in these kind of conditions. But the scope makes it easy, and man, I can see my target really, really well. It's a great piece of glass.
So who is this scope really aimed at? Who's it good for? Well, obviously somebody who likes high magnification, and I am one of those people. I'm a high magnification shooter. Whether I'm target shooting or hunting, I actually like to use higher magnification. It's just something I'm used to. I really like the dot style reticle. I'm a Mills guy, and obviously this particular one is a Mills scope, but they also have an MOA version, so don't discount it. If you're an MOA guy, they have a version in MOA. If you like high quality optics, I mean, these scope cap covers and the things that even the coating on the scope, the finish on it, everything about it just feels really high quality. The turrets, very tactile, can feel it through my gloves in the cold. I can hear them. There's nothing about the scope where I think, well, that feels a little chintzy, or they obviously saved some money there. Nothing about it seems cheap to me. It does seem like a high quality scope. I think they got the price point right on these. When I did a little research before doing any videos, before recording anything myself, I saw right around $800 or $900 is what street prices are looking like right now. So you maybe could keep an eye on that and even get it a little bit cheaper, maybe closer to that $800 range. I think anybody who's got that budget, you're going to appreciate it. Some of the things that I really like about it, the range for the parallax from 25 meters or yards up to infinity, very practical. You could run this on probably like an NRL 22 rifle all the way up to a PRS rifle. I'm very happy with it. I think if you have a 30 MOA rail on your gun, you're going to make the most of that internal elevation, as well as using your holdover reticle with those 10 mils, and you'll just get the most out of the optic. And so I think that's a really good idea. It's about 1.8 pounds, and with the length of it, it actually fits really nice on the Savage rifle. So if you have anything similar to this, I think you would love it. It's a 30 millimeter tube, and so it can sit a little lower down on the rifle itself. I kind of like the look of it. I think it looks really good. If you have any questions about this, go ahead and reach out to ZeroTech. They have a wonderful warranty as well. You might want to look into that. And if you have any questions about my video today, go ahead and post those down below. Please like, share, and subscribe.